Hello everyone, today I'm gonna compare a $100 Samsung phone with a $500 Samsung phone that's around 5 times the price. Now I already know which device is better, but the point of this video is to show you what you can get for a lower or higher price. The first phone is the Samsung Galaxy A03 in red, and this is around $100. Next, we have the Samsung Galaxy A53 5G in blue, and this is around $500. Now let's start the comparison. Before we take a look at the phones, I want to quickly compare the boxes. Now from the front, we obviously have two different phone designs since they're different models, but watch what happens when I tilt the boxes onto their sides. Take a look at this. The cheaper model, the A03's box, is around twice as thick compared to the A53 5G. And because it's a cheaper phone, you might expect the box to be smaller. But in reality, the box of the cheaper phone actually contains more accessories than the expensive one. So with the A03, the phone came with a charging adapter and charging cable, meaning you can charge your phone using a wall outlet out of the box. But with the Galaxy A53 5G, the more expensive one, you don't get the charging adapter, you only get a charging cable. So you cannot plug your phone into the wall out of the box, you'll need an adapter. And if you have an adapter at home, then that's really good, your problem is solved. But most people who are buying it as their first phone or who want a separate adapter just for this device will have to buy a new adapter. So that's a pretty big difference. Now let's take a look at the devices. Starting off with the display. Now there's one thing that you'll immediately notice. The size and dimensions are different. So taking a look at the A03 over here, this has a 6.5-inch display. Now the A53 5G also has a 6.5-inch display. So if they have the same screen size, then why is one phone bigger, the A03? Well, it turns out that it has an 81.8% screen-to-body ratio compared to the 85.4% screen-to-body ratio of the A53 5G. In simpler terms, this means that the A03 has thicker bezels. Let's do a close-up shot over here. So if we take a look at the bottom, we have a thicker bezel compared to the A53, and we also have a thicker bezel on the top. It's actually pretty hard to see since my wallpapers are black. Let me change them. Here's what they look like side by side with a white screen, so you can see the bezels easily. Even if they have the same screen size, the A03 has a larger body because of the larger bezels. There we go, more close-up shots. Okay, and another difference is the display technology. On the A03, we have a PLS LCD with a refresh rate of 60 Hz. On the A53 5G, it has a Super AMOLED display with a refresh rate of 120 Hz. And this means that the A53 5G's display can refresh twice as fast compared to the one on the A03. The result is smoother scrolling and better performance when watching videos or playing games. Now I'll play a clip over here that demonstrates the difference between a high refresh rate 120 Hz display and a standard 60 Hz display. On to the cameras. Now first I'm gonna quickly read the specs. The A03 has a 48 megapixel main sensor at f1.8 and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. The A53 5G has a 64 megapixel main sensor at f1.8, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, 5 megapixel macro, and 5 megapixel depth sensor. Just from the specs, you can already tell that the A53 5G has more cameras. But what does this mean in the real world? Well, you can capture different perspectives with the A53 5G, and thanks to the higher resolution, you can capture better night shots or low light photos and record higher quality videos in up to 4K resolution compared to the A03 that only maxes out at 1080p, which is Full HD. Now let's take a quick look at the camera app over here. Look at the A03. It's already out of focus somehow. Having a hard time to focus. That's actually very strange. That's the first time I've seen this. But anyway, if you take a photo with any of these phones, then they're more than good enough for taking family photos just to remember, or for scanning documents. As you can see, they're both clear, very good. You can easily read the text, but the A53 5G will always take the better photos and videos. So if you're just looking for a phone that has a simple camera, then the A03 is more than good enough for that. But if you want to take better photos and videos, or maybe record some YouTube videos like me, then the A53 is a better choice. Next, we have the performance. I'm not gonna do a detailed comparison on games and apps since that will take a really long time and will be very hard to film. Instead, I'm gonna run a Geekbench 5 test in the background while I explain some of the things that I noticed. And also, I started the test at the same time. The A53 5G is faster, so it's 51% versus 27%. Anyway, the A03 is more than good enough to handle basic apps like social media. So we have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, all sorts of media streaming apps have no problem. But once you start doing heavy games like PUBG or Minecraft, then the phone starts to struggle. And I also tried to play PUBG on the A03 and it was impossible due to the low frame rates and high lag. On the A53 5G, it can handle all of my basic tasks and high usage, power intensive tasks such as video editing and gaming. Now most of my new short videos for YouTube were filmed and edited on the A53 5G, and I've also been doing some gaming such as PUBG, Clash of Clans, Sky, and Minecraft. Now I also made a PUBG gaming test. I'll leave the link in the description. Now we're just gonna wait and see which one finishes faster and compare the Geekbench scores. Somehow, the Galaxy A03 crashed while running the Geekbench test. Not a good start. So I'm just gonna run the test again and let's see the result. The A53 already finished and this is the result. You can compare it to your current device. Now while we're waiting for this, we're gonna go onto the storage and RAM. So for the A03, it can come in 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, or 128 gigabytes of storage. With the A53 5G, it comes in 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage, meaning you get higher storage on the base model A53 5G to be expected since it's the more expensive phone, and the highest storage variant is also higher than the one of the A03. In terms of RAM, the A03 can get either 3 or 4 gigabytes of RAM depending on the model, and the A53 5G can get 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM also depending on the model. So if you're doing multitasking with a lot of apps or heavy gaming, then the A53 5G is better. This Geekbench test is taking forever to run on the A03. So while we're waiting for this, I'm gonna continue the comparison by going over the sensors. So in terms of GPS, the A03 has AGPS, and then the A53 5G has AGPS, GLONASS, Galileo, and BDS, meaning you're gonna get better coverage in different areas. Whoops, this is about to sleep. Let's tap the screen. There we go. For the actual sensors, the A03 has an accelerometer and proximity sensor, whereas the A53 5G has a fingerprint sensor under the display, an accelerometer, gyroscope, compass, and barometer. Now take a look at that. It has 3 more sensors than the A03, and this is really important for a lot of different scenarios. One thing that I noticed is when using my Sky Portal app, oh no, Geekbench 5 crashed on the A03, so it seems like we won't be able to run the test. Never mind. Anyway, as I was saying, one thing I noticed is on my Sky Portal app, this is an app that has a sky chart, since I use my telescope and go outside to look at the planets or moon. The A53 5G will let me rotate my phone at the sky and tell me exactly what object I'm pointing it at, thanks to the gyroscope. But the A03 doesn't have that functionality since it doesn't have a gyroscope. And that's why having more sensors is really important if you're doing a lot of work on your phone. Now this depends on the person. If you're using your phone for basic use, then I think that the sensors on the A03 are good enough, and you also have GPS. But keep in mind that those sensors may be essential for some apps or games to work. In terms of NFC, which is short for Near Field Communication, the A03 doesn't have NFC at all, which is a bit disappointing. Now the A53 5G has NFC, which is good to see. Now if you're not familiar with NFC, it's basically this piece of technology that allows you to tap a device and pair it with your phone. So for example, these Sony headphones have the NFC logo. I can just tap these to pair them with my phone. And same with the camera that I'm filming on right now, this Sony camera also has NFC. So with one tap, I can transfer photos or videos. Now you don't get a functionality on the A03, but that's to be expected because of the lower price. For the audio, the A03 has a headphone jack here at the bottom and a single speaker also located at the bottom. Now, let's do a quick audio test. And for the A53 5G, there's no headphone jack, but the phone has stereo speakers. So there's one speaker on the left side and one on the right side. Let's also do the audio test. Okay, moving on. For the port, the A03 has the old style micro USB connector that only goes in one way. And what I mean by this is if you plug it in like this, it fits, but if you plug it in the other way, turn it around, it won't fit. So it's not reversible. Where on the A53 5G, we have the new USB Type-C port, which is reversible. Let me just borrow the cable of my iPad over here. I can plug it in like this, and then flip it around and plug it in the other way. That makes it more convenient to charge if you have problems with your visibility, or if you're in a low light environment or at night where it's really dark and it's hard to see where you're plugging in the cable. That's pretty much it for this video. I went over all of the important features on each device. Unfortunately, the Geekbench 5 test doesn't want to run on the A03, and I've been checking online in some other comparison websites, and I also couldn't find the score. So maybe Geekbench 5 can't actually run on the A03 because it's too slow for the test. Okay, so now what are my thoughts and opinions? Well, the Galaxy A53 5G is the better phone in every area, and I think that it will last longer since it has more future proofing thanks to the 5G, like it says here in the box. But that doesn't mean that the A03 is a bad phone. The point of this video was to show you what you can get for a lower or higher price. And I think that you should buy the phone that fits your needs. If you're okay with the A03 and you're looking for a budget phone, then this is a good choice to consider. But if you want a better phone, then the A53 5G is also a good choice. I don't think any of these phones are really super terrible that you shouldn't buy them. I'm just saying that each phone has a different use case. Maybe you want to buy the Galaxy A03 since it's cheaper and you want to put it in your business so you can have a work phone with a SIM card in it. Or maybe you want an A53 5G to start making YouTube videos on. It really depends on your needs and personal preference. And hopefully you learned something from this comparison so you can see the differences. Feel free to leave a question or comment down below. Please like and subscribe for more and help support the channel. So, thanks for watching.